Hi, I'm Kimberly, and welcome to As I've Seen It. Unforced errors and self-inflicted wounds. They have taken down many a politician over the years. So I'm waiting to see what they do to these two. British Prime Minister Theresa May, Madam Unelected. Donald Trump, Mr. Barely Elected. Madam Unelected flew to the United States and, as far as I know, did not meet with a single Democrat. She spoke to Republicans only. Okay, so that was already unforced error number one, in my opinion. And so at the Republican retreat, she talked about the special relationship. She talked about Reagan. She talked about Margaret Thatcher. She barely mentioned Donald Trump. So then on Friday, here she was at the White House, fawning and simpering and, oh, Donald. Stroked his ego, made him feel like king of the world, and he just lapped it up. She wanted to be named the first world leader who had gone to the White House to visit Donald Trump, something the two of them have in common. Neither of them has a mandate. Mr. Barely Elected won about a quarter of the electorate. Madam Unelected didn't win any of the electorate. She didn't win squat. She wasn't elected. She's leader of the UK because David Cameron made his own unforced errors and self-inflicted wound. The people didn't elect her, but she's trying to govern like they did. So Theresa has a couple of thorns in her side, one of them being Nigel Farage. The other, Michael Gove, one of the guys she stepped over in her leopard print kitten heels to get to her office. Remember those kids in the schoolyard who used to just stir stuff up? We called them the instigators, always trying to start something and then stepping out of the way when the punches start flying. Nigel buddied up with Trump before the election, and then he couldn't wait to send out this picture of the two of them in the gold elevator looking like buddy. Adding insult to injury, Donald tweeted that, hey, wouldn't it be great if Nigel was the ambassador from the UK? And of course, Madam Unelected and her team went, that job's already filled. So then Michael Gove, just to poke her in the side, Michael Gove interviewed Donald Trump. Michael Gove. So here are the boys going, Theresa, we've got better access to Donald than you have. Now, anyone who was an experienced politician or anyone who was less insecure would have just stepped back, let the boys do what they wanted, and just ignored those fools. But oh no, Madam Unelected had to try to one-up the instigators, and she offered the one thing that neither Nigel nor Gove could possibly offer Donald: a state visit and the Queen. Donald and Melania are scheduled to go to the UK this summer. They're going to stay at Windsor, blah, 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 blah. And she offered him this because they knew he would lap it up. His ego just loves this. Now, here's the problem. Typically, for that kind of state visit, the UK waits until an American president has been in office for 2 years, has shown stable leadership for 2 years. But they jumped the gun on this because Theresa was too insecure to ignore the instigators. So Mr. Barely Elected had been in office for less than a week when she showed up and offered him something that he shouldn't have gotten for at least 2 years. I think it was last month that I mentioned in a video that Theresa went to an EU summit and, she has no friends. She had nobody to talk to. So she's trying to show everybody she has friends. So off she flew to the US to make best friends with the new guy at the White House. And then comes the kaboom. She stood up in Turkey the next day and wagged her finger at people there over human rights. Flew in like there was still a British Empire and they had taken over the Ottoman Empire, while her buddy Donald, her new BFF, was in the US basically just offending everybody. And so, multiple times, reporters asked Madam Unelected, what about your BFF imposing a Muslim ban? And she ducked and she dodged and she hemmed and hawed. But then she said, that's basically the US's business. I deal with the UK's business. Wrong answer. Ooh, wrong answer. Well, now news is out that Madam Unelected knew before she left the United States what Donald was about to do. She knew. So she had plenty of time to formulate an answer. Ooh, unforced error, self-inflicted wound. So by the time she got back home, people were angry because she hadn't stood up to Donald. There were already people who were angry because she went in the first place. Then it was, how can we offer a state visit to this guy who's new and who's done this thing that is so bigoted? So as of last count, last I saw, 1.6 million people had signed the petition saying no state visit. So she's kind of stuck. Unforced error, self-inflicted wound. Anybody surprised that Theresa May didn't come out and condemn Donald's action does not know Theresa May. Working in the Cameron administration, she was the person making life hell for immigrants and refugees. She did everything in her power to keep people out of her country and to throw out people who were already there. There were deportations, interrogation, surveillance, monitoring people's data. They were even targeting school children. School children have been questioned about their values, have been questioned about how they feel about Britain. Theresa May was notorious as Home Secretary. When she became Madam Unelected, the unelected Prime Minister, and she made her first trip to the United Nations, what did she do? She set about trying to change the definition of asylum seeker. Who could be considered a refugee? So the idea of Trump cutting off refugees, she's fine with that. She has no problem cutting off refugees. Look what she did to the children in Calais. The president of France was practically begging Theresa May to take more of these kids, and she said absolutely not. The new Home Secretary under Theresa May, Amber Rudd, told UK businesses that they needed to provide a list of their foreign workers. How is that not a witch hunt? Of course, businesses were like, yeah, we don't think so. So they had to back down from that. But that's the kind of policy Theresa May would want to implement. So it's no surprise she's on Donald's side. It's no surprise that she's not going to condemn him. She would like to do the same thing. What's going to happen to the EU citizens living in Britain? What's going to happen to the Brits living in the EU? Hard to say with Madam Unelected and her anti-immigrant stance. Thanks for watching.